Billboard, baby, do a leap and make them dance when they come on. Everybody looking for a dance floor to run on.
If you wanna run away with me, I know a galaxy and I can take you for a ride. I had a premonition that we fell into a
Broadcasting on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, as well as WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. It is the Matt McNeil Show. Holiday edition. That's right. Brand new to you. We just listened to Bill Corbett right now. It is my absolute privilege and pleasure to welcome from Mystery Science Theater 3000 and The Mads Are Back. Trace Beaulieu is kind enough to join us to talk about his life in movie riffing, his book, as well as other things in Hollywood. Trace, as always, an absolute privilege to be able to chat with you. Thank you very much for the time.
Oh, thank you, Matt. I look forward to this. It's always fun talking to you, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Yeah, well, I've never had you on the holiday show, and I said I got to do it one time at least, so I'm glad you're available. Thank you for that. For a lot of people out there, and especially Chicago, I want to make sure you remember who he is. Mystery Science Theater 3000, Dr. Clayton Forrester. That's Trace. And of course, he was the voice of Crow for many of the seasons, the classic seasons. How many years were you on that show total?
Well, from KTMA, which was 1989 or 88, the fans will correct me, all the way up through 95, I think. So 7 seasons, the fans will correct me. And then we did the film, too, so that... I guess let's just say 6 or 7 seasons.
I went back and recently on one of the Friday Links revisited one of your old original, and I've only seen 1 or 2 of the old original KTMA Minneapolis broadcast first season of the show. It was SST Death Flight, I think it was.
Yeah.
What an atrocious film. You look a lot like Dan Gladden, by the way. I'm going to just call it out. You know, the baseball player Dan Gladden. But the thing about that, which was really good, was, and I've had actually people who I would consider to be experts on, movie riffing and the history of MST3K. They say that's the film that you guys really started figuring it out, and it really started to come together. Because as old as that film is, and as kind of homemade TV it comes across, it really has a lot of the elements which became synonymous with MST3K playing out in that film.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That had so much to offer to it. It had so many celebrities, and the timing of when that film was made, just worked perfectly for the era that we grew up in, and pulled all our references from. But yeah, I'd never really thought about that. But yeah, I think we started gelling and really going like, hey, this is something. This is actually working good.
It did, and obviously you are. I've come to appreciate your comedic style, because there are some times I will see, or I'll be hanging out with someone and they'll be riffing on something like a movie, just like you guys are. And they make the mistake of it's not quantity, it's quality. And there was a lot of times I think that you guys, you made sure that the movie stood there. I mean, you have to allow that movie to play off sometimes so that everyone can appreciate really the atrocious piece of celluloid that you are watching. And so it takes a real smart comedic mind to not say, okay, we're just going to do every joke, but to basically just pick the jokes, let the movie play, and not just try to overwhelm people with like 15, 20 jokes per minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We really like these movies. We enjoy watching them. Otherwise, we couldn't live with them, for such a long time. And they are enjoyable if you have to let the movie breathe, and because people really do, like these films unriffed as well. And there's so much humor that just comes out of just, letting it play, like you say. And we will cross that line quite a bit. We'll try to overstuff the turkey sometimes. But as you know, if you've ever made a turkey, you just need the right amount.
Well, and you also, the way you just described it makes me realize MST3K was the natural evolution, because I grew up as a kid in the 70s. And so Saturdays, you had these just atrocious movies, but they were free. You know, the TV channels back there would get them. And so you could either air it and act like this is a humdinger of a film, or you pay some guy to sit there and intro it, talk about how bad it is, but not talk over it. What you guys then did and figured out was, talking over it actually makes some of these movies a lot better.
And we kind of discovered that by accident. Originally, we were just going to talk about the movies or just kind of like make comments with ourselves. And once we got into that studio, we realized we had to fill the air just for ourselves, just to make it through that film. But Chicago has a rich history of Rich Cause as Sven Gulli. Yes. And he's really the pioneer. He's been doing it since '78. We just, kind of pick up the mantle of those hosted horror hosts that we all grew up watching. And I think Sven's still the king of the hosted movie. He's absolutely wonderful.
And you and Frank actually showed up on his show one time, not that long, a few years back, right?
Yeah, I had met Rich at C2E2, which is the sci-fi convention in Chicago at McCormick's Place. Huge show. And I was there with the cast and Paul Feig, the director and creator of Other Space. And we had a table right next to Sven Gulli. And his line was out the door and around the block and all the way to Naperville. And we go, well, who's this guy? And that's where I met Rich. And he's just such a great guy. Then he invited us on the show. The next time Frank and I were in Chicago, and it's like, yeah, definitely, we'll come on the show.
You, of course, left MST3K. You did a few other projects out there. At some point, you found your partner in crime, Frank Conniff, of course, who would most up Mystery Science Theater 3000 people would remember TV's Frank. And by the way, the segments you guys did were just, going back and watching them, were just brilliant comedy. You understood exactly what you were doing. And it reminds me a little bit. I was listening to an interview with David Letterman. And if you go back to David Letterman's first few years at NBC doing late night, it felt like you were watching just a bunch of guys set up cameras in this building and they went. But it was brilliant. It was so good. And you guys, that same thing, those segments you guys did with MST3K, were just as entertaining and as funny as anything you did during the movies. I mean, it was really brilliant, and you and Frank just clicked absolutely on camera.
Yeah, we got really lucky. We both are, we kind of shop at the same store. We've been looking at, Laurel and Hardy and the Stooges and the Three Stooges, not the rock band. We came in with the same sensibilities and same appreciation of that kind of goofy humor. And it's still paying rewards. Frank and I still work, together to this day. So we must get along okay. Part of that is food. We like to eat the same kind of food.
Well, that food is the best, man. I'm a fan of food. And most of my existence is based on I don't talk about going to visit museums or places. Like, what do they got to eat there? Because I'm going to be sitting there. I want to see what's going on there. Like I said, I went down to New Orleans, and I was like, okay, I'm fine. I mean, I don't need to see jazz and history and architecture and ghosts and vomiting people. I don't need to see any of that. I've got food. I'm good down here.
Yeah, New Orleans is great. We like to eat there. Our first time in Chicago, we went to get deep dish pizza.
Yeah.
And, of course, we had to order a large for just the two of us. And I think we finished it. I think maybe we left one piece, one for our homies. But we really made pigs of ourselves in Chicago. The food, I mean, you cross the street, you got a different restaurant. It's just, I can't say enough about Chicago food.
Oh, it is fantastic. No, I'm with you 100%. So at what point did you and Frank say, you know what, let's revisit this and go back to riffing? Because you guys, once again, I should mention, the Mads are back. This is you and Frank going on. You do it online. You do some live shows as well. But you guys got back to riffing, and you've been wildly successful with this as kind of revisiting what you guys were very good at.
Well, that was nothing we do is ever planned. Frank and I were doing a few conventions, making a few appearances, and then he got invited to riff a movie at an atheist convention in Memphis on Easter weekend. I think it was Easter Day. And he said, "Hey, I got invited to riff this movie. Would you like to do it with me?" And I went, "Yeah, okay. That sounds fun. It sounds like dangerous." So that's where we started, was Memphis. I think it was 2014, 2015. And then the gigs just kept coming. And they've been building. And the thing about Mystery Science Theater is the fans are the best fans across the board in any form of entertainment. And we have one fan who lives in not Chicago, but south of Chicago. There's a little state called Indiana. Joe Martin had picked up the mantle, and he started calling around to theaters all over the country and started booking us into theaters. And we did, I think, 5 years on the road, going from theater to theater all across the country. And we played in London 1 year. So our fans are the best. They kept us alive. They kept us out there on the road. And I just talked to Joe a few minutes ago. We're planning on going back on the road. COVID kind of killed everything. Yeah. So Frank and I are both older. I won't say old, but we are, susceptible to a few things in the air. So we've been very cautious. But I think we might start back, and we're going to start in Minneapolis either this winter or this spring.
Sweet. Oh, man, let me know. I mean, obviously, I'll have you back on. We'll talk about that. I should mention, right now, according to your website, on January 9th at 7 p.m. Central Time for Chicago, Minneapolis, A Night of Shorts 14, you're going to be doing a live stream screening. Is that still on?
That is still on, yes.
Okay.
The shorts are my favorite. One, because they're short. My attention span is not very long. And we usually do educational shorts, the stuff that was made in the 40s and 50s and early 60s, with a very, very strong kind of Eisenhower era view of the world. And they're so fun to approach and tackle because they're just great foils. They're the Margaret Dumont of educational films. And so the shorts are always fun. So, yeah, January 9th, I got to write that down so I remember to be there.
That's a good way. I should probably practice for that. I think what I love about shorts is they always take themselves way too seriously, which means they're the perfect target to knock off the top of the hill.
Yeah. There's something about that style that they were made in, and we remember watching those in school. They would wheel in an actual film projector.
Yep.
Kids, look it up, Google what that is, and that. So we're very familiar with them from both ends. But yeah, they're always a great night.
Once again, I want to make sure I get this out here. TheMadsAreBack.com. TheMadsAreBack.com. I'll link to all this later after the show here, of course. January 9th, 7 p.m. Central, A Night of the Shorts 14. That's going to be happening, and as well, a live tour that's going to be coming out and going. You're going to be doing a lot of shows across the country?
Well, right now, we're just talking about one show. We're talking about dipping our toe back in the water of live shows.
Okay.
And Minneapolis is the natural. We've got a relationship with a local theater that are very keen to have us back.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll keep an eye on that, because once again, that's either going to be late winter or spring. We'll keep an eye on that. I want to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about your book as well as also some other things with movies. It's the Matt McNeil Show. The Matt McNeil Show, brand new to you. Once again, Trace Beaulieu is joining us, talking about The Mads Are Back, as well as, once again, that live show. Keep an eye out. It's not set yet. It's going to be happening in Minneapolis, either late winter, early spring. I'll promo the living daylights out of it. So keep listening to this show. I'll let you know when it is. And then, of course, just go to themadsareback.com. You can find out all the information when that show gets announced. I did want to mention your book, Silly Rhymes for Belligerent Children. Talk a little bit about how you got into that.
Well, I met an artist, Len Peralta, at a convention, and I really wanted to work with him because I really like his style. And I said, well, let's. I've got a bunch of these silly little rhymes. Maybe you can illustrate them. Mm-hmm. And that's as easy as it was. And Len is such a fast working artist. He delivered stuff back to me like the same day, and I went, that's too fast, Len. I can't work like that. Pressure is hard. And he's subsequently done all the covers for Frank Conniff's books. So if you want to read those, go to Amazon. Frank Conniff has all his books up there. Len Peralta's done all that art. We did this book about 10 years ago, I guess. But I still have copies in my garage, and that's why I'm promoting it.
I love the line, a yucky big book of rainy day fun for belligerent children and odd adults with nothing better to do. Silly Rhymes for Belligerent Children. You can find that. I'll put a link out as well on the social media pages. You can find a link there, and as well, obviously, go to Amazon on that too.
No, not Amazon. We're not.
No, not there. No. Okay.
I don't sell there. No, they took too big a bite.
Okay.
Like, hey, we're a little guy. Come on, help us out here.
TraceBeaulieu.com. TraceBeaulieu.com. Silly Rhymes. I will put the link for there. My apologies, sir.
Oh, no problem. I just don't need to help Jeff Bezos out anymore. I think he's doing okay.
Those obscenely shaped rockets aren't going to just build themselves, you know.
I know.
I wanted to talk with you about really quick, because I know the Hollywood actors and writers both settled their strike, thank goodness. And a major, a point which they wanted to stand up for was this AI, because AI is freaking terrifying. And you and what you do and what Bill Corbett does and what all you movie reviewers do are kind of at the nexus point of this. Not only is it AI generated writing, but they could easily AI generate your character and do movie riffing. It is somewhat terrifying when you think about how this could, without any say whatsoever, someone could basically steal your bit, your gig, your image, your voice, and run with this. Talk a little bit about that, because that's got to be a little concerning, considering how easy, especially as the AI companies are pushing it, it could come in and take over certain industries.
Yeah, I think it's already doing it. I was reading about Stephen Fry, who read the Harry Potter books in the UK. They've already stolen his voice and applied it to other things that he's not even aware of.
Wow.
You could kind of see it coming with, there was kind of like a clutch cargo approach to like replacing mouths for a while, and you could have them say anything. But now they can just like replace you as a person. I don't know how you can control that. I don't know how you police it. It could show up on another part of the world and, have you do any kind of thing that would be, against every principle of human beings. It is frightening. I heard on the radio the other day that that AI is very good at detecting AI. Mm-hmm. So maybe there'll be a robot gatekeeper, or let the robots watch themselves. We can go out and go walk in the woods or something. AI isn't going to replace that.
Well, there is the hoping the robots find a conscience and, hey, that's not real, as opposed to, of course, human. That is another human. There is that concern, too.
Yeah, well, I think it's potential to replace just about anything that's entertainment related. Books on tape or tape. Oh, hello, Grandpa. It's being in the early stages of it and not knowing just the total repercussions is a little frightening. I have seen the arguments too that it's like, don't worry about it. It's all just they're making more out of it than you need to. But when the robot from the future, appears in my driveway and he needs clothes and my motorcycle, then I'll start worrying.
This year, you and I, over the years, and I've talked to you many times. I'm so glad to have you on in Chicago now. But you and I have talked about movies. It does look like this year, thanks to Barbie and Oppenheimer, the movie industry it's not back to the levels it was pre-COVID, but it's pretty close. It's getting there. And we'll have to see what Wonka and the rest of these movies do at the end of the year. But was there a movie this one year that you saw that either you said was a great movie or said, boy, but do Frank and I need to do a number on this one?
Well, there's so much on both sides of the coin. I just watched Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
And Oppenheimer and Barbie. I've seen all the big ones. But I haven't picked one out yet that would be perfect for us to riff on. Those three movies take care of themselves. They're, you can't touch them. But I haven't gone back to the theater myself, and I haven't really needed to since everything's online. Everything's on Apple or Netflix or Amazon. That's the part that I'm not thrilled about. People have forgotten how to behave in movie theaters. Yeah,
I'm with you on that one. I saw Barbie in the theaters, and I was like, okay, all right, let's stop with the Howler Monkey exhibit. I'm with you on that.
You're being polite.
This has been wonderful. TheMadsAreBack.com, TheMadsAreBack.com. Silly Rhymes for Belligerent Children. You can find that at TraceBeaulieu.com. I'll link to both of those. Trace, all my best coming up in 2024. Thank you so much. It's an absolute privilege chatting with you. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Hour 2 up next for Minneapolis, St. Paul, Chicago. See ya.